Okay, tear up your answers, dude.
We'll go sight first.
Okay.
So I'm gonna draw my eye. I am not an artist, so.
And this chapter, there's not as much drawing stuff, and I don't like that. Last chapter, there's a lot of drawing stuff that I really liked. I could draw like my explanation.
Okay, so this.
Oh, that's a beautiful eye.
Yeah, this is my cornea. This is my iris. My pupil is the hole. That's the lens. And then back here is the retina, right?
Yeah.
So you're all with me?
Yeah.
So light comes in to the eye and gets bent by the lens. So we have light coming in from different angles and all getting bent.
Bent to the lens?
Bent by the lens.
By the lens.
The lens bends it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's coming in and then it getting bent. Back here on the retina, remember that one spot called the macula?
Yeah.
That's where it's directing it at. Because there's so many cones and rods all compacted together.
So the light is directed to the macula?
Yes. In general. There is light that hits other spots. For example, if I were to ask all of you to tell me what time it is, and you look up here and you're focusing on that, so just focus on the clock.
Oh,
and tell me, what I wrote the last word over there while looking at the time.
I can't.
It's going to be pretty difficult. But you can see I wrote something over there.
Okay.
It's because it's most compacted cones and rods there. There are some cones and rods all over the retina, but not as compact, so you can't see as detailed. So our eyes have a focus point. Like when you're focusing on something, that's where you're directing the light right at that macula. So that's why we have peripherals, because of the cones and rods everywhere. So cones receive the color. They're the ones that do color. Rods do light. So they both send action potentials through the optic nerve to the brain. Now there's 3 different types of cones.
Hold on.
Okay, you're good.
Both sends action potentials through
The optic nerve.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To the brain.
To the brain, yep.
Okay.
Both rods and cones? Is that what you're saying?
Rods and cones, yeah. Rods do the light, cones do the color. There's 3 types of cones. Do you remember what they are?
Red, the colors?
Red.
Red, green.
Green.
Blue.
Blue, yes. Red, green, and blue. And different percentage of those
You would
make
think it
up.
would be the primary colors.
You would.
That's like what really threw me off.
It threw me off too.
Because I was like, don't red, green, and blue make everything?
Red, green. You mean red,
red, green,
blue.
and yellow?
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's tricky.
Or red, blue, and yellow.
I feel like they're all too much alike.
Yeah.
So just red and green.
So it's red, blue, green.
Red, blue, green.
And that different percentages make up the colors. Now, when we're looking at something, we'll say this is red, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because every visible light is being absorbed except red. Red is being reflected back at your eye. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So everything else is being absorbed. We look at that, it's blue. Everything's being absorbed except blue. If I look at that, what's going on there? It's black.
Nothing.
Nothing. Exactly. All visible light is being absorbed. So our brain is making up a filler color to fill in there. Because our brain knows something's there. It's just no light's being reflected back of color.
That's so interesting.
So there's light being reflected back, but no colored light. And so our brain makes it black. White.
Black's not real?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, black's
so black's not a.
It's the absence of light.
It's our brain plugging in
right?
a color. It's an
the
absence.
absence of light, and then
Because
white is all.
Here it gets even more trippy.
Oh jeez.
So color, we don't actually know if it's there. I mean, it could be. It's just, think about it. It has to be light reflecting off of it.
Remember when he did that experiment in the class and he held up the things? Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
He just held up colors and we couldn't tell what it is, but there's no light.
Yeah. Exactly. So light.
For red, I got red.
Light has to do with color.
As a guess.
And so that's the trippy part. White is a reflection of all. So all the colors are being reflected back in your eye.
Okay.
And so that's white.
But think of the Lord, you know? The light comes from the Lord and like the darkness comes from no light.
Well, if you just think about being in complete darkness, there's
Yeah.
no color.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah,
find
exactly.
anything, so.
Exactly. But that's just the concept of color. What color is? It's light being reflected back.
Yeah.
That's so trippy though, when
So-
you think about it.
So rods is
Light.
light. Okay.
Yeah, so rods are sensitive to light. Rods are able to let you know if you're in a light room, dark room, you know.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're going to do taste and smell. Taste and smell are so similar in the way they work that I like to clump them together, and Brother Ray does too. So here's our tongue. There's little chemoreceptors on the tongue. We know them as like taste buds.
Yeah.
But chemoreceptors. Now, if I were to put something in my mouth, the saliva breaks it down a little bit, breaks down those chemicals. Those chemicals bind to one of 5 different types of chemoreceptors. What are those 5?
What are they?
The
Your
Sweet.
young.
Sweet,
What's the young?
Sour.
sour,
Bitter.
Unami.
Bitter.
Unami.
umami.
Umami.
Your mom's.
Which
Salty.
one? Salty. Perfect.
Sorry, I shouted that.
So those are the 5 different types.
Is that the tongue?
Yeah, this is the tongue. That's a chemoreceptor on the tongue.
Okay.
And so it just binds to one of those types. That sends an action, it binding sends an action potential to the brain. So the brain knows this is sweet, this is salty, this is bitter, this is really savory. Or
Okay.
So our chemoreceptors is what actually tastes.
yeah, the chemoreceptors, big stuff binding to them is.
And then sends that message.
So if you were to
the
stick
brain.
your tongue outside of your mouth, dry it off, and put like salt on it, you wouldn't taste it because the saliva has to break it down into chemicals to bind. So you honestly could do that. But the second you pull your tongue back into your mouth, you're going to taste a ton of salt.
Right.
So,
So chemoreceptors are activated by saliva, or like
Uh, the saliva allows them to be activated because it breaks down whatever's in your mouth into chemicals to bind.
So we need saliva to be able to.
Yes, you do.
That makes it soak down into the.
Now, if you were to put an apple, like let's say you just had a mouth. You put an apple in your mouth and you put a strawberry, they'll taste the exact same to you. But you're telling me, no, I can tell when I'm eating an apple and I can tell when I'm eating a strawberry. This is where the nose comes in handy. So we have our nose. I'm drawing a picture of like right here in the nose. Okay?
yeah.
I'm gonna have to like say this is a tongue. and this
That's
is
what
a
I
nose.
did.
Yeah. I told you guys, I'm not an artist. But I tell you what I'm drawing. So this is like inside the nose. So there is the olfactory bulb. Remember this picture with nerves running down? And then the mucous membrane right here. Okay?
Wait, what's the bulb?
The olfactory bulb.
I spell it.
Olfactory.
OLFAC.
Oh.
Olfactory literally means anything to deal with smell.
What
Oh.
is so like? It's like you said it was the nerves, and what's at the bottom?
The mucous membrane.
Mucous membrane.
Okay.
So, there's chemicals floating around in the air when you're baking or cooking or just when stuff happens, mixes up, puts chemicals in the air. What happens is that air carrying chemicals comes in, the chemicals dissolve in the mucous membrane. They dissolve in that mucous membrane and then they attach to chemoreceptors or nerve endings that send a signal to the brain. Now the difference is there's over 70 different types in the nose.
Right.
Compared to 5 in the mouth. And so, the different combinations of different chemicals binding from different things is how we can uniquely tell.
Over 70?
Yeah, there's over 70.
You
And
don't
so-
have to know that though.
So you can even, if I'm making sugar cookies and I'm baking,
Oh, that's
Chocolate
good
chip?
to know.
you can smell and be like, that smells like sugar cookies, that smells like chocolate chip. Why? They're very similar, very, very similar. It's because the unique, just a very slight unique, different chemoreceptors they bind to, the different
for chocolate.
combination of them,
Mm-hmm.
then you're like, okay, I could tell what that is.